Starting. Five.
Cock block. Cock block.
That was totally a beer block, I gotta say.
I'll tell you what. Let's do that again. Okay. In 3.
Keep going. I dare my camera to keep me in focus. How's it going, everybody? This is our second start. So, Dave, hi. For buying a beer that somebody tortured a cat?
I'm hearing
that's just a cat. It's not.
Sounds like you're torturing a cat. Dave picked the beer this week, and of course, I tried to.
Tried to.
He failed again. He failed all of us.
That's it.
Cast him into the pit of Carcoon.
Into the pit of Carcoon. However, he did pick another one while sitting at the bar stool at the beer store, and this is the beer. Hold up your beer, boys. We've got the Whistler Brewing Dark and Stormy Ale, brewed with ginger. Dave, tell us about this beer.
I'm a sucker for ginger.
A sucker for ginger, and also you couldn't find anything else.
I'm a Marianne person myself.
I'm a sucker for gingers, actually.
I'm opening my beer now. I don't want to hear about your exploits with redheads.
What do we know about this beer?
I know diddly about this beer, except that it smells
okay,
wonderful.
So here's something a bit new, gentlemen. The gravity of this beer is 12.6. Whatever the fuck that means. And the international beer units of this beer are 17.
The beer units are 17.
The beer units are 17.
Not a very hoppy beer is what we're getting at.
Which suits me just fine.
Yes, because Dave is allergic to hops.
Yes.
He breaks out
massively.
He breaks out in a bad
case
mood.
of lameness. Wow, that's actually it doesn't smell like ginger, like a whole lot. However, it tastes like a lot of ginger.
It's funny, I smelled the ginger.
I smelled ginger.
I don't smell it.
It's not
hardly at all. It's not that powerful, is all I'm saying.
It's not super powerful, but it's
no, it's not.
I do notice it. It's noticeable.
It's interesting. It's an ale brewed with ginger. There's
really dark.
We have had other beers in the past that have been like a ginger beer, which is just made a beer and infused it with ginger flavoring. So it's not like a traditional ginger beer like I'd expect. But this is interesting. I mean, it's dark. It's a wintry kind of thing, and I wouldn't have expected that ginger would go well with a beer like that, but it does. It goes quite well.
I give it up for being tasty. I gotta say, I'm impressed. Well, for a last-minute choice, I gotta say we could have done really worse.
Yeah, we could have picked
that
thing from Big Bear in California or something. I'm glad nobody picked that.
Yeah, I know that would have sucked if we'd actually had that one. I don't know. Do you actually have did you actually have the bottle?
Yes.
So you actually have one. Did you check the expiry?
I looked for an expiry. I didn't even see one on the bottle.
So to give you context, for anyone who watches this, Dave picked a beer called from a brewery called Big Bear Brewing, I think, roughly anyway. And the beer, I went to the beer store. Thought, hey, I'll go. I couldn't find it initially at the local thing, so I called around, and I got one guy laughing at the BC liquor store at the mall that I go to, and a bunch of other people actually gave me a bit more information. Apparently, this brewery, the Big Bear Brewing Company, or whatever they're called, has a reputation for sending beer into Canada that is very close to or has expired. And they're not sure. The guy that I talked to on the phone at the Brewery Creek place that I go to said that they had a bunch a few months ago, and they sent it all back because it had expired. And the guy at Legacy said, yeah, no, we don't stock them anymore because we don't trust them. And yeah, so there's something about that I thought was really strange, considering you got some, Dave, and I'm curious. And this is why I was asking about the expiry, because maybe some slipped through. But again, I don't know. Maybe it's just how they, it got stuck at the border or something. I don't know. Who knows? But overall,
you know what? I find that just bizarre beyond belief. Like, what business is going to do that kind of ridiculousness?
Well, exactly. Which is so bizarrely strange thing about it is that why would any brewery do that on purpose? It makes no sense to me, especially when breweries are in the business of selling their wares. Why would they do that? But I guess they just have had that. They've done it apparently twice. So I don't know. It's a bit strange.
Maybe they have a distribution manager that hates Canada. Maybe his ex-girlfriend is Canadian or something and getting back.
It's about this girl they used to date a little while ago, a couple years ago. Who? This girl a couple years ago. Where? Would she live in Canada or something?
So, you know what it was they wouldn't let him through with his shotgun.
That's what it is. True.
It's like that commercial with that.
And he thinks because we all live in igloos up here that the beer, even though it's expired, will keep longer.
Oh, yeah. That makes total sense. For sure. For us, it's a non-issue.
Yeah. Things don't expire here because everything's frozen.
Oh, I forgot my jacket in my other igloo. So, God. So I don't know. It was a very strange experience, actually, because, normally we just can't find beer, but I got a couple of people going, this is a weird, no, we don't stock this. So I don't know. They don't, but I
want to say this.
We don't ever stock. Yeah.
Okay, so you say that some guy laughed at you?
Not at me. He laughed when I asked for the brewery beer. I asked for that particular brewery.
Okay, because a lot of times when you can't find the beer, you say that somebody's laughed at you. So people laugh at you an awful lot, don't they?
Yeah, so he laughed. He did.
He has Shane has a real problem with people laughing at him.
Allie, they said they're gonna laugh at me. So Allison is like,
Alan,
she has beer now.
So if you had anything happen when you were looking for it, did you just go into the store? It wasn't there, and you're like, fuck it.
Yeah, I don't ask. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not there. But
you didn't ask anybody about it? Nothing like that?
No.
You didn't get laughed at?
You know what? I get people coming up and asking me, can I help you find something? And I'm like, no.
Get out of here, you bum! You bother me.
So what you're saying then is now when you go into the store, everybody's like, okay, stay away from that motherfucker.
No, I'm just saying.
No, I'm not. They're just like, yeah, I'm not going to,
Guys, do not ask for directions. We don't read instruction manuals. We just do it. That's the way a guy is.
I see.
Hang on. Sorry, I'm busy ignoring this podcast. Sorry. Are we doing something? Oh, I should have asked for directions to my camera. But I gotta say,
does this thing turn on now?
This beer is quite good. I give it a thumbs up.
I'm liking it.
A bit of a surprise. But more importantly, Alan brought an article to us today that it's only October, but I want it to be December now. Alan, elaborate.
All right, so we did this last year, and I think you did it the year before, Shane. But the Central City and Parallel 49 in Vancouver are once again releasing their beer advent calendar. This year, it is called. What's it called? It's called something. It's a box that looks like it's a gift. It looks like it's gift wrapped and got a bow around it. I guess it's just called the Season's Greetings 24 pack.
2-4 for Jesus.
Yeah. Apparently, now from the article here, it's a little bit. Remember last year, Shane and Dave, but Dave didn't have it, so he won't remember. The 24 pack last year had half of it being stuff that you could just get in a store regularly.
Yeah,
right.
Was newly made stuff just for that pack. It kind of sounds like this year's pack is going to be completely specially made stuff.
Wow.
So 24 beers that you can't get anywhere else, and 5 of them are limited release craft beers that won awards at the recent 2016 AC Beer Awards.
Because last year we had the Snowcase and what was the other one? The Craft Crossing, I think.
Yeah, craft. Well, that was the Parallel 49 and
I
Central
got
City.
I have it right here. Oops, it's all caught up. But I got the Craft Crossing one last year, and I think I got the Craft Crossing the year before.
Yeah.
The
Parallel 49 one.
I still have my lids from the box that Ali put on a thing for me. So nice. So there we go. I'm a complete nerd. But
now the only thing is about this.
Who made this? That was Phillips. Phillips made the Snowcase.
Makes the Snowcase, yeah.
Yeah. So
now the one thing that kind of set the Central City and Parallel 49 case above the Phillips one was the price. It was priced considerably less than the Phillips Snowcase. They have raised the price on
I'm actually looking.
Their case this year is $73 as opposed to, I think it was $63 last year. And now it's $73. So that's kind of a big jump.
Are they doing their thing? I'm just looking for any news on this, but doesn't seem like there is yet. From Phillips. Sorry, I'm just talking about that one. But the
Phillips may have decided not to do it.
That's true. It's true.
But I don't think the Phillips Snowcase did well last year.
Last year, I gather Costco did one. Did anybody notice that one?
No.
Costco
selling beer?
Stella also did one. Costco sells beer in the States. I'm just looking at all the different companies that have done beer advent calendars. Stella apparently has done one. It looks like those are actually pretty much it. That seem to be pretty limited in the companies that are actually doing it. But the seasons, I guess it's called the Season's Greetings this year.
Yes.
So I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna have to get one because I think that apparently it starts selling early November 2nd. It looks like. So Dave, you gonna get one?
I don't know. We'll see. That's a pretty big investment.
It's beer, man. Come on. This is what your parents are for.
Good point. Hey, mom and dad.
Although, speaking of Christmas, I mean, it's a little early. It's not even Halloween yet. However, since I put the link in the chat, ugly Christmas sweaters.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever had one? Because in town here in Vancouver, during like end of November and definitely throughout the first few weeks of December, you can go downtown and there are people selling ugly sweaters on the street corners. Have you seen these things?
I've seen them online.
I've seen the odd one on television. Yeah, online television. That's it.
Now, I think they're. Sorry?
I think in past years we've kind of wanted to have like ugly Christmas sweater parties or whatever, but frankly, the sweaters are pretty expensive for something that you're wearing as like a joke or whatever for like one day a year.
That is true because, but the ones that I'm talking about here, at least the ones I've seen, are usually about 20. The ones on the street, anyway. So again, really, who knows where they come from?
Well, exactly. I mean, they could have been used to wipe a dog's behind or something.
You never know. I mean, I'm sure that there are companies out there that sell this stuff. Exclusively, like that are just set up to sell this kind of stuff. So anyway, we like the beer. We like the holiday case. Now, for like I guess not the snow case. It's called the Season's Greetings this year from Red Racer and 49th. So, how are we going to capitalize on this? I think we should. I think that we should do a daily video for the month of December talking about the beers that we actually are consuming.
Just a quick one, like 5 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'd be a great idea. I think that it would be a refresher for us.
Although
Locke
I have to admit,
will be back. By the way, Locke is returning. His final exam for the semester is on the 15th of December, so he will be back after that. So whatever, I mean, I haven't looked at a calendar, but specifically he should be able to get at least an episode in then.
Cool.
You were going to say?
I was going to say, and I'll admit this, and I think, Shane, you could admit it too, that I didn't drink a beer every single day from the
I didn't last year because last year was when Serendipity, my now long, I died a couple weeks ago. That's when she started getting ill. So I had planned on doing a video for every day, but she got really ill around that time, so I decided just to forget it. But this year, I don't know. The year before, though, I did. The year before, I actually drank.
Did you?
A beer a day for those 24 days and died afterwards. So I'm actually a zombie right now. But it did take a lot of time because
Which is fitting now that it's Halloween, on Monday. So
that's true.
That you're a zombie.
Are you going out trick-or-treating?
Of course. I look like a 10-year-old.
Actually, I remember when I went trick-or-treating for the last time, I think I was 12, maybe 13. I wasn't going to go because I was of that age. I didn't really think trick-or-treating was a thing for me. I was a bit too old for it. But my sister wanted me to go, so I went with her. And it was kind of fun, I dressed in something stupid. I think I was a hobo or something. And I went around with my sister, and it was fine. It was trick-or-treating. She would run to the door, and I would follow her and whatnot. But one woman at the end of the street actually said, "Are you too old for this?" And I said, "I'm going with my much younger sister." But that wasn't apparently good enough. It was kind of amusing. So I made sure not to go to the following.
Sorry, that wasn't good enough for her?
No, apparently not. I mean, she was kind of a jerk, so whatever. Although it doesn't matter because I did learn like a little while later that at that time she was in the middle of a divorce, so who knows if that happened. But yeah, no, it was something. It was kind of fun to go trick or treating, even though I kind of felt like an idiot. But what
did you dress up as?
I think a hobo. I don't think I actually spent a whole lot of time with the thing. I think I just had like a jean jacket that had fallen apart. I think I threw some dust on my face. Like
so you're just like
stuff.
Normal.
Pretty much, yeah. I looked like this, just with less beer. But I don't know. It was just kind of amusing that that I had that experience. It popped in my mind just now. Anyway, so the other question I have is actually, why do we not have any Halloween-based beers? Or sorry, themed beers. I haven't seen really any.
I would say that we do.
Yeah, there's
like
tons
where? All right, what are they?
in beer stores.
Well, a lot of pumpkin.
What are they in beer stores?
There's the what is it? The Grim Reaper.
Yeah,
Is that
there's
the
the
one?
Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude from I don't remember who did it. Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah.
So I think that next week, even though it'll be technically a couple days after Halloween, we should do one, because the reason because I think that it would be kind of important to represent at least a Halloween spirit of some sort, even though we're not of that age. Are all of your kids too old to go trick or treating?
No, my youngest, he's only 10. So
But he still goes. Cool.
Yeah, my middle, he's 13, but with a costume on, he could probably pass for 11 because he's not very tall. So he'll probably go. My oldest, he won't.
I think he was just sneaking by you. Did I see that right?
Yeah,
Did I see someone sneak by?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
In the room.
So, okay, well, let's do a Halloween-themed beer next week. I think that'll be fun. Because
Okay, you pick it.
I will pick it. I will. I can't believe how hard it is to find beer these days, because you'd think that we would be like all over this. I'll try to find something suitable. So now the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the there's a story here. I have a link. Here it is. All right, I should have put this in the thing earlier. So apparently, Alberta is messing with their beer.
Yes, I've heard about this.
And I am. So, what did you heard about it so far? Because I only saw this.
Well, no, you go, and I'll comment.
Okay. Well, essentially, what's going on is the beer taxation in Alberta is changing, and it's become, of course, a how shall I say, a political thing, where people are, oh my god, oh my god. Did I see that right? Did you guys see that? I'm looking at the ceiling.
I did not see.
And I see a lock.
Oh my god!
Holy!
Lock! Holy shit!
Who is that guy?
Lock! Hi!
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Swamped. Doing well though. Yeah. I'm gonna get up at 6 a.m. to go hang out with a bunch of judges for breakfast.
Nice.
Nice. That sounds like a movie title.
That's kind of. And I
Judges for breakfast.
Judges for breakfast, indeed.
Well, it's actually kind of funny that you popped in right at that moment, because I was about to describe incredibly badly how beer regulations in Alberta are changing. And this means that the taxes are going up on alcohol sales in the province. It's somewhat lightly attached to that whole thing about cross-provincial sort of beer sales like we were talking about last year. But it's popped up in the news again because essentially, and this is the big thing, is that the Great Western Brewing Company has filed a court challenge against the Alberta government, saying that their sort of regulatory changes are unconstitutional, which is the reason I thought of this today, since we're doing the podcast, but it fucking made me laugh because basically it's saying you're charging too much for beer, and it's the Canadians' constitutional right to have beer. So you, of course, being having grown up for some time in Alberta, and you're going to law school right now.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you popped in. I start talking about Alberta, and you show up. So yeah.
Speak of the devil. Yeah, well, look, the thing you got to recognize right now, Alberta's doing something that it hasn't done probably since the 1950s, which is have an NDP government. Actually, I'm not even sure if in the 1950s they would have had an NDP government. I don't know when the last NDP government was.
I don't think they would have ever.
This may well be the first NDP government that province has ever had. So, yeah. I mean, I think you could have predicted the taxes would go up somewhere. That they would go up on alcohol surprises me a touch. But on the other hand, what do Albertans do besides raise cattle and drill for oil? I mean,
smoke and drink.
They drink. That's basically it. So,
but it's so strange that I'm sorry. I'm totally thrown off because you're here, man.
No.
Because I invite you every week, even though I
notice the invitations, and usually I look at them longingly and then turn to the difficult homework I have, which is telling me that I didn't put curly quotations on the straight quotations won't do. They got to be curly quotations, otherwise that's not plural, right?
That whole thing would, of course, dock you marks and that kind of stuff, being at school and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. Now, I have a story to tell you.
Let's hear.
So part of the reason I made an exception this evening and thought I should definitely chime in, first of all, was that I finished my major assignment over the last couple of weeks yesterday. But also because today I went to a lecture on the legal and business ramifications of opening a brewery.
Oh, really?
From a guy who's not only a business and law professor, but also a former brewery owner, specifically Saxer Brewery from Portland. Saxer bought Nor'Wester, expanding the production, and then eventually, who's that? Eventually went out of business.
That is faithful pug, since we are now only a one pug family. Continue.
Oh. So anyway, the long and the short of it is, his advice was that, I mean, craft beer growth is cyclical, and right now, his view is that we're right about to see a downturn in craft beer operations, at least opening new markets. Right now, we're moving into a consolidation phase where the more successful breweries are buying the less successful ones, trying to expand their production. But for all that it's cyclical, consider that the last time we were in this place in the cycle, craft beer accounted for 1% of beer sales across North America. Today, they count for 19% of beer sales across North America. So, wow. So it's a business that's growing, but if you were going to start a brewery right now, you might want to wait and see what happens over the next year or so. Now, the other thing he had to say was on just his own experience in terms of how the beer market really works, at least in Oregon. Now, does this mean it's true of the rest of the world? Well, probably elements of it are true.
Well, I gotta say that Oregon, of all the places in North America, would be, I would consider it to be kind of a mecca almost, because I mean I don't associate any other place in Canada or in the U.S. Like
Portland to an extent, yeah. So here's one of the eccentricities of Oregon law. So what happened sort of in the 90s was a bunch of Oregon beer distributors got together, pushed for legislation requiring that if you that supermarkets and that sort of thing couldn't warehouse product. They needed deliveries from the distributors, right? So you couldn't just deliver to a central warehouse if you were a brewery. You have to go through a distributor, right? So they kind of locked their position in. And so in Oregon, and I think you'll find in other places too, distribution it accounts for a huge piece of the business of beer. Something like 10 cents to the dollar goes into the beer, generally speaking. The rest of it is bottling, bottles, labels, and marketing, right? And, of course, distribution. And so ultimately, what I would suggest is that there may, if you're the sort of person who really wants to open a brewery right now and is looking at getting into that business, but is cautious about that caveat that over the next year we may see a downturn, maybe the right thing to try to gun for right now is becoming a beer distributor.
Not a bad idea. The Crafty Boys distributing.
Well, actually,
the finest ales this side of Hazard County.
There is a company here in Victoria that actually does sort of like a beer club type of deal, where they gather beer together and they give their subscribers. They actually mail out to their subscribers a different beer every month.
Ooh. Sort of like one of those box subscriptions.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I think they pay more for the shipping than they do for the beer. Can you imagine sending a bottle of beer in the mail? I mean,
it's doable.
Jeez.
Now, I think bottle, yeah. Can, yeah. Problem with both of those, they're likely to be pressurized. So you wouldn't want one exploding.
I mean, I think people pay quite a lot for this service. It's not cheap. But apparently it's going and it's quite successful. So
that's cool.
Yeah. We could do something like that.
We could.
Why are we not
let's
doing
do
that
that
right now?
We're going to do it, and Dave is going to center operations in Black Creek.
Perfect spot for it.
Dave, hurry up and get to the chopper! For some reason, I just picture going to Black Creek on Vancouver Island as requiring flight rather than land, mobility. It's like in the middle of nowhere. I talk more, Locke, because basically you've been not been around for like a month or two now.
Yeah.
We just want to hear your voice.
Well, first of all, have you? You guys want to talk to me? No, have you actually got beer with you? I'm kind of curious about that.
Well,
since you're in the beer mecca of North America,
I'm actually.
He does have breakfast with judges.
Wine.
You just say that again?
Yeah, I'm cheating this evening. I'm drinking wine.
Wow. Well, that's it. I'm out. See you guys later. Starting a new podcast, everyone. The Crafty Winos. The Crafty Winos. You heard it here first. Wow.
Not that I don't drink plenty of beer here. I just it was as a random thing. I ended up having wine this evening.
I picture you can't walk too far without tripping over a keg there. That's
not
my theme, though.
Now here's the other interesting thing about the beer business. Because so much goes into bottling, and because so much goes into labeling, and because so much goes into all of that stuff, there is still an enormous opportunity for people who want to start a keg-oriented beer business. Like if you're selling kegs, which is to say the keg comes back, it's just a container, you don't throw it out at the end. So that's not a problem. that's not lost money, right? If you're orienting your business around selling kegs of beer, that all of a sudden looks like a much more promising argument.
But it also becomes a little bit more difficult then, because a bar maybe only has 1 or 2 taps that they open for, local distributors, right?
Yeah.
So that becomes a hard sell, especially now that if a place has already a relationship with local brewers, you have to entice those those places to leave their relationship with those brewers and take up a relationship with you in its place, which could kick off their customer base, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're going completely on keg sales, I mean, that's tough.
Oh,
that's hard.
No. There's like any way you look at it, we're past the point where this is an explosion. Now we're at the point where this is a mature playing field where there's no easy way in. But if you really want to do it, the profit margins on selling kegs of beer rather than individual wrapped, like tins or bottles of beer. Now, the other thing, canning lines are going to be huge coming up, because they now have mobile canning units that can just serve smaller breweries, right? So instead of the smaller breweries having to have their own canning line, now they can just call the canning line people and say, "Yeah, add me to your stock list. We've got beer that we want you to put in cans." Right?
Holy!
Another business opportunity for the Crafty boys. We'll get like one of those food trucks.
I've joined the Lewis and Clark Law Society Brewers Guild.
All right.
That is awesome in more
that's
ways.
Really a thing.
I was present for the brewing of a black IPA, which we will be testing for Halloween coming up. Oh, right, the party is this weekend. I don't have a costume yet. What should I go as?
I think you should go as a Crafty boy.
You should go as a trooper. I will point out, actually, Locke, you're the only person that's going to appreciate this.
Okay.
Everyone else here has no idea what I'm talking about. But I'm at level something. I've forgotten now. The Iron Maiden game. Level 37, I think, for one of my troopers, and level 40 for the other. I've been playing every day for the past couple weeks. Great game, I gotta say. If you are out there wanting to play a video game and you're not into drinking beer, the Iron Maiden video game is actually quite good. I'm entertained.
Actually, probably good even if you're into drinking beer.
This is a good point. Which reminds me, Locke, my gamer name is Ulcerbane-3350, in case you care. Because apparently we can join and trade stuff or something.
Ulcerbane.
Ulcerbane-3350.
Spelled like Ulcerbane?
Ulcerbane. My video game handle when I'm playing video games is Underpants Bane,
right?
But I couldn't get Underpants, so I went with it gave me Ulcer, and I'm like, sure, whatever. So that's kind of how that was.
Nice.
Well, my video game handle is Rusty Chainsaws.
Yes, I haven't seen you on Steam.
I like it.
Then there's Dave, who, by the way, if anybody out there wants to donate money to the fund for the Crafty Boys, the fund is not going to be directed for building a brewery or a distribution system. It's going to be buying Dave a real computer that doesn't have Apple in the name, because his computer is actually dying. Last week, we were slightly concerned because Dave and I were talking before the show, and his entire computer halted and died. So if you want to actually help us buy a new computer for Dave, don't bother sending us anything because Dave's on his own.
It's not a GoFundMe.
GoFundMe Dave doesn't need a new machine. He just needs a non-Apple product. So yeah, there you go. There's so many things I want to tell Locke and get Locke to tell us about, but I don't want to take up his time either. I mean, I'm concerned that you're studying and all this sort of non-beer drinking days going by and by and by. Is this true?
Oh God, like it's awful, but the truth is, I had to grow up someday.
Damn. Well, I wait for the day when I have to do exactly the same thing, but who knows when that's going to happen. Dave, have you grown up yet?
Oh, hell no.
Locke obviously hasn't, or is. Sorry, he's in the midst of growing up. Alan, what about you?
I'm still wearing a diaper.
Oh, all right, cool. I'm still wearing a Star Wars T-shirt, so I have yet to grow up. Which reminds me, for anybody who cares, next Thursday, the 3rd of November, the final Rush documentary is going to be in theaters. I was just wigging out about it beforehand, and it is playing in 3 different theaters in town here in the Lower Mainland. I don't know if it's playing in Victoria. Probably it's playing in Portland because they have a few more theaters there, but who knows? Mainly because this is sort of Rush's final nod because they're going to be returning to only doing studio releases. They're retiring from doing anything on the road because Neil Peart has a back injury that has basically ended his career for at least touring. So unfortunately, Rush sounds like they might actually they've said they're not stopping, but they're stopping the touring. So which is so sad. Did you hear about this, Locke, at all down there? It's only happened. It started happening last year, but the past few weeks has actually been when the stories have been coming out again.
I actually in the last over the last month I actually ran into a disparaging comment about Rush, and I did my duty and said, "You can't say that. There's a Canadian present."
We'll make fun of your everything the U.S. does right now because that's all we're hearing out of the United States. Actually, hey, Locke, you're going to be there for the whole election thing. What the hell's that playing out?
I mean, look, I'm still trying to get my head around how this place works. I mean, there are certain skeptics who would suggest that it doesn't. But I got to say, I like Oregon a lot. I like the way I like its demeanor. Let's say, the thing that I've actually learned, me learning something. Wow. The thing that I've actually learned about the U.S. by spending some time down here is how different each of the states actually is. Like when you're from an international perspective, the U.S. seems monolithic, and the federal U.S. actually probably that's not a bad word for it, monolithic. But there's the state U.S. is a whole other world, and they're all completely different. So. Yeah, in terms of the election, I mean, what endears me to Oregon is the number of times I've seen things like bumper stickers that say "nobody for president."
My favorite one that I've seen lately that's been bouncing around the internet for a couple of months now is the one that says "Giant Comet 2016." Or giant asteroid or whatever. So basically, just wipe out the planet. Be done with it.
Yeah.
You're going to say?
Oh, yeah. So, in general, I mean, I think the attitude that most of the people I've talked to in Oregon have about the election is that the likely result is simply that Hillary wins, and that's the end of it. But it's in a system where there's only 2 options. You're either a Republican or you're a Democrat. You get some very surprising Republicans, and you get some equally surprising Democrats. People who you're not 100% sure why they align with one or the other, but evidently it's not for the reasons stated on TV.
True. I mean, what's his face, John Oliver, a couple weeks ago, did a sort of I guess a review-ish in a way of the Green. I want to say the Green candidate, but I don't think that's the party name. But there's basically two other parties that are, they have this much of the vote.
Yeah.
And people sort of, it's implied that these parties, even though they have no chance of winning, are better choices. And he sort of went through, as John Oliver does, he goes, as a Canadian, it's like so informative. But he does a fair amount of research with his team there, and they talked about some of the policies that they have, and they were even more ludicrous than one of them was even more nuts than Trump. Trump's just kind of a dick. He's not necessarily the brightest man. He's not necessarily the brightest business guy. He's not, but who is? There's no full-on expert in everything. So, we like to pretend we are, but really, there's stuff that we can always learn, right, and improve on. But for him, he's just an asshole. That's the problem, is that he has these sort of.
Potentially, that's the problem. I think.
Okay, yes, potentially.
That's also the selling
of course.
Point. The critical
exactly.
issue with Trump is that that's also the selling point. The reason people are voting Trump when they vote Trump isn't because they believe in Trump for the most part. With the caveat that there are some extremely dangerous, extremely crazy people out there that are listening to Trump and not thinking that, oh, wow, finally a free speech candidate. No, they actually believe everything he says, unlike the man himself, who I think is just trying to push people's buttons.
Well, that's true. I think that a lot of what he says, he believes, but I think that probably half of what he says is something he's like, well, if I say this, then that's going to get quite a bit of response. So that'll keep me on the tube. And I mean, he's gotten something like, $3 billion worth of free advertising or something insane around.
I think he just likes saying shit that makes people mad. As somebody who says shit that makes people mad on purpose because I like it, I have to say, I sort of understand.
Well, this is true. I mean, a lot of people are afraid to say things online in a way that, whether in jest or not, they are too afraid to say things because they fear retribution or whatever. Where he could care less. He's actually one of the few that could be out there like, I'm going to say something so incredibly batshit crazy that no one is going to even question if whether or not I'm nuts or not, because he ultimately can, sell off what he owns and go and live on an island somewhere, where most of us would like to do that but can't. But again, I've watched all three debates, and this is the first time I've ever watched a U.S. presidential debate. And as time went on, you could tell, you could actually watch him unravel. It was interesting. Where the very first debate, he was unprepared. He just sort of stuck to his typical stuff. The second one, he was more prepared. He was trying to be a little more professional, but he unraveled at the very end. The third one, I thought we would see a fully polished Trump, but he only lasted about maybe a quarter of the way in, and then he started doing what he just does normally, which, I don't know, I guess to his supporters doesn't really matter. They don't seem to care, as you were saying, but I don't know. I think there's definitely, especially in the women's vote, I could see a lot of individuals that are like, yes, Trump, 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 close the curtain at the voting booth and go Clinton. So I don't know. And then walk out and go Trump, 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 but actually voted for the other. So, I don't know. It's the polling is so unreliable these days, from the last couple elections. Who knows?
Think about how they got Brexit right.
Yeah, well, exactly. Which reminds me, did you see that Canada walked out of the EU trade thing? What did you think?
Which doesn't surprise me, given the way the EU's been behaving over the last little while. I mean, this is the thing. Everybody looks at Brexit going, why did they behave? It's abominable. Why the British are obviously nuts. Until you start talking to the Europeans, and then you go, oh, right, they're nuts too. Yeah.
I know. I kind of applauded a little bit because I don't know. I a couple of years ago, or maybe it was only just last year, I can't remember, but there was this thing called Google help outs or help something. Anyway, where essentially they were using like the Google Hangout system for people to be able to run online courses for others and charge money for it. So they could actually say that, I will charge you, X number of dollars a minute or cents a minute or whatever to help you with a particular problem. You can buy for $1 a series of 5-10-minute videos and that sort of thing. And so it was kind of a neat little sort of, help out. That's what it was. Yeah. And you were able to like put together like mini courses almost, but actually get paid for them as well. And a lot of it sort of unraveled at the end because the EU said, by the way, when you're selling those courses, Google, or when the people on your platform are, they have to collect EU taxes, sales tax and stuff like that, where, and this has been happening with online stores, Amazon, all these sorts of things too.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, the seller has to collect the taxes and send it to the country that they're shipping to. And Google just said, we're done. And they closed the whole thing. They're like, screw you. Like, this is stupid. So, yeah, I mean, and this has been happening for a few years now with this whole taxation thing where Amazon is like, not doing it. You want to come after us? Go right ahead. But we're in North America.
An organization that likes, that gets its golden hippie approval, on the basis of being internationalist. It's a very un-internationalist move to say, if you're an international online company, you owe us taxes, send them to us now.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the bizarre thing, is that a lot of these companies have just said it where, I mean, the reason that Google did that is they wanted to protect the people that were using their platforms. They said, we're going to close it. It's a great thing. We've had a great response from it. But we're not going to fight with the EU about this and on your behalf, and we don't think you should fight it either. So we're just going to close it and end the whole thing. And then the EU complained later on, like, why are you doing this? It's like, because you're jerks. That's why. And I think Amazon actually just kind of was like, we're going to run everything through the UK. So eat it. And it was, I don't know, it's such a bizarre thing, which, by the way, I don't know if you saw that. I don't think you did, but I just wanted to point this out. This is the beer we had this week.
Oh,
the Dark and Stormy Ale from Whistler Brewing.
Cool.
Mainly because, Dave, do you have the other bottle with you?
Nope, I got rid of it.
You got rid of it? What do you mean you got rid of it? I
exchanged it.
Oh, you exchanged it for the... Oh, man. Long story short, Locke, Dave, a couple of days ago, picked a beer from a brewery out of California called Great Bear Brewing or something like that. Which initially, when I saw it, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll go and see if I can find it. If he can find it, certainly I can find it. So I went to, I walked over to the mall, and they were like, no. And so I called Legacy, I called Brewery Creek, and I called actually a couple near UBC. And all of them said, yeah, no, we don't stock that because they sent, I guess, on more than one occasion, I'm assuming. But apparently the brewery sent expired beer to Canada, and the retailers here sent it back. So stay away from that brewery. And if you can find it, I wouldn't mind having somebody taste beer from that brewery to kind of figure out if it's any good. It was a very strange thing, man. So basically, this week it's Dave's fault.
You guys all picked that beer. You opened it, and it was done. It was like off.
No. The Lower Mainland had none. They were like, yeah, no.
I see.
I was even told that we don't stock that anymore because of what happened. So, yeah. Anyway, it was just kind of amusing. I think Alan's asleep. You okay, man? You were like, I just saw. I looked over at your camera, then you're like this. I think Alan's dead now. What? Oh my God, he's
dying. He's dying.
dying.
Oh.
So anyway, I think actually we're kind of running long. So
Yeah, right.
I think we'll end it there. But do check us out next week. We will be talking about a Halloween-related beer that I'll have to figure out what that is. And the 24, and we're going to try and see if we can arrange to do a beer a day through December for the 24 days of Advent, because that beer the case from 49th Parallel and Red Racer is on sale shortly, which apparently, although I'll have to check this out again, but apparently has all specialty beers that are for the case only. So
I don't know about that, but we'll see.
that's the rumor. Anyway, thank you again. Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Oh, yeah.